Welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. This is a bonus episode called the USFL 2022 Season and Overview. Hi, my name is Dan. This is February 24th, 2022, and I'm going to do an overview of the new spring football league called the USFL. It's been around before. Rejuvenated it here for the 2022 season. What it is 8 teams that play spring football. April, May, and June in the spring. There's 8 teams in the league. They're played on regular football fields, regular size football field, for the most part the same rules as well. They're going to be playing these games Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends, mainly on Fox television. Only 8 teams. Here's the roster size for the USFL. A little different than the NFL. Less players. There's only 38 on the active roster. They do allow 7 on the practice squad to practice with the team, but not suit up and play. Basically, there's 45 guys on a team, 8 teams in the league. 360 players will be in this league. Basically, the USFL will be employing 360 players in this spring league. These are for players that play Division I, perhaps more likely Division II or Division III football, even community college or JUCO. If you played high school and did not play college at all, you're still eligible to play. Here are the teams. So the teams, there's 8 teams. They're located all over the United States. This is where their teams will be home base headquarters and where the teams will be practicing. On game days, though, the games themselves will all be played in Birmingham, Alabama, every weekend. The USFL has a 10-game regular season beginning April 16th. 8 teams. For the most part, there will be 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, all in Birmingham. They're hosting it. It's the headquarters for the USFL. All the games will be played on. They've got 2 stadiums in town. So as you can see, they'll start opening weekend as April 16th and 17th. There'll be 4 games that weekend. Week 2, there'll be 4 games. All the way through, concluding regular season in week 10, June 19th. All these games in Birmingham. I'll get to the stadium and the location next. There's 2 divisions. The top 2 teams in each division will play a semifinal game based in Canton, Ohio. Canton, that's where the NFL Hall of Fame is. The field they're going to be playing at there is the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. Nice facility there in Canton, Ohio. Those semifinal games will be played there along with the championship game. All the rest of the games in Birmingham. Now, to get these rosters set up, this is a new league essentially. They had to have a draft. Just this last weekend, the teams picked the order for the draft. Here's the draft order for the draft. Now what they'll do is they'll assign, they already did this, in fact the team's draft has already been completed this week, that's why I'm doing the show now today. The rosters are basically set, the draft is set, the draft is complete. Here's how they did it. Day 1, first round draft, you can only draft quarterbacks. Rounds 2, 3, and 4 are dedicated only to the edge rushers / defensive ends. So they're able to draft in the form of buckets by position, almost like a fantasy football draft somewhat. It's a caterpillar approach. So the first round for quarterbacks, it'll go in that order that I showed, 1 through 8. Round 2, it's reversed. The 8th team is the first pick, and the number 1 team is the last pick for round 2. And then it snakes back around for the 3rd round, and so on and so on. There's 35 rounds. So on day 1, they just did 12 rounds of selecting players. These are players from a pool of players that have declared themselves eligible, that want to play in the U.S.F.L. The league decided not to release the player, decided not to release the player who entered into the pool to be eligible for selection. So it never was public. It was never public, these players, but there's estimated to be 500 players that have entered into the pool. And while the league will not announce the players ahead of the draft, a number of athletes have announced their planned participation in the league. So you got 500 people that have put their, essentially submitted their resumes to work in this league. Now, day 1, they picked all these other players. Day 2, rounds 13 through 17 on the top on the right there, you can see was they're selecting wide receivers only. That's 5 rounds. 5 rounds of wide receivers only, but that's it. There is no other chance to draft receivers other than those rounds. Then they move on to rounds 18 through 19 with safeties, and they select centers. They go back and forth here with offense and defense every other round, or every other phase. And at the very end, they do their kickers, punters, tight ends, halfbacks. Round 35 is long snappers. So the draft completed 2 days, 35 players. Now remember, the active roster is 38. So they allowed all the teams to draft 35 players, which means they still leave them room for 3 players to sign from who's ever left, essentially free agents. And they still get 7 players to sign to their practice squad. So essentially, after the teams draft their 35 players this week, concluded with the draft, 35 guys, they really have their rights to those players. They can go out and get 3 more active, 7 more practice, that's 10 more, so 45. So in total, grand total, 360 players will be on rosters. And like we said, 500 signed up, 360 will be assigned to teams when it's all said and done, which means 140 will be sitting home, left, waiting on the sidelines with the response letter saying, thanks, but we didn't need your services. Just kidding. But those players, as injuries mount and things like that happen, these other players will be waiting on the sidelines, hoping to get that call. But this is a subsidiary. It's not a subsidiary of the NFL, but it's more or less a minor league. Think of it as a minor league football league, somewhat like the XFL. That the top players in this league, will certainly rise up and get signed in the NFL. But this is a league to keep going in the spring, kind of an offset. It does not impact the NFL's schedule because it's in the spring. Now, the good thing, the potential good thing here is with the Major League Baseball lockout, work stoppage, strike, whatever we call it, is kind of pushing off, and there could be delay in the baseball season, which could really make this football league more appealing for people wanting to watch. All these games are going to be on television Saturdays and Sundays. They do have some leeway on the weekends to maybe move a game up to a Friday night, move a game out to a Monday night. So, here is where it is in Birmingham. The city of Birmingham, there's two fields they'll be playing in the north end of town at Protective Stadium. That is a brand new facility. Just completed. Brand new football field. Very nice facility. Off to the west of town is Legion Field. Longtime college football stadium that also holds 74,000 fans on the outskirts of Birmingham. Now I added one more little pin in there is Birmingham does have a minor league baseball team. That's a Class AA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. For people heading into town to take in these games, in Birmingham. Could make it a weekend, take in a minor league baseball as well. If you do decide to do that, the schedule is out. Now, this is pending. At the work stoppage, who knows what's going to happen before things come into play there, but the Birmingham Barons, it's the AA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox, have announced their schedule. Home games in red there, white games on the road. So if you look at the home games in red, there are some weekends that they're playing at home in Birmingham that overlap when the USFL will be in town. If you're interested in taking in a game, I think many people might be doing this, taking a little road trip for the weekend, maybe taking a minor league ball game and a football game or two. You know, you can take a game in on Saturday, take in another game on a Sunday, both in Birmingham, and a minor league ball game that weekend there as well. The weeks that are highlighted means that the Birmingham Barons are in town for baseball. Now, they have announced the USFL team uniforms. It's only 8 teams. They've got home and away uniforms. They've been announced this week. The other thing that's different with the USFL, that's different from the NFL, is that they are working into this a college tuition program. Basically a program, not a loan, but if you make it the team, this is staff, coaching, and players. If you are essentially employed in the USFL, you're eligible to take a college, free college program that they're offering here with this league. Not to be repaid. It's not a loan you got to pay back later. It's an incentive to play, and it's also an incentive for a lot of these players who may not get the chance to go to college or don't have a college background to get their college education, either in the off season or during the season. I'm not sure how all that works, but these are not loans. They're not going to have to repay. You can go to college, finish up your degree, start a degree, get an additional degree if you'd like, and they'll pay for it. The USFL will pay for it. Very good program. It's very interesting how they built that into there. Keep in mind, the NFL, if you want to get drafted and play in the NFL, you have to come out of a pretty good sized school, either have a degree or be enrolled at a college campus somewhere for at least a couple of seasons. If you don't have good grades or don't have the funds to get to college, and you're a very good football athlete, you're kind of stuck. So the USFL is making that work. They're combining that program. If you go to the USFL website, there is a website set up with all the teams, inaugural season. First game is April 16th, 2022. And if you scroll down there, they've got their articles you can read, information on the teams. Like I said, the draft is now done. The teams have their draft. I think they're in the process now of signing the players that they took in this draft this week. Picking up those to complete. Now they'll get their training camp together. They'll go a couple of weeks of practice. I think the beginning of April, maybe the end of March, and then games begin. So in this time frame here, from the end of February for another month, the end of March, they'll be doing the administrative side of things, getting things ready, getting things organized, getting practices set up, getting the flights. They'll have to, every weekend for this schedule is a flight. These teams, excluding Birmingham, has got to travel to Birmingham every single weekend for 10 straight weeks. So it's a lot of flights, a lot of hotel rooms. Birmingham, Alabama, this could be a jackpot for them from a business standpoint and an economic standpoint, bringing in all these games at one site. Now, I don't know if they're going to do this down the road in the USFL or maybe spread them out. This may have something to do with how the COVID pandemic, we're playing games in a bubble atmosphere all in one location. And here, these first 10 weeks, like I said, will be in Birmingham, and then they'll move on to Canton, Ohio, play those semifinals in June. July 3rd, right before July 4th holiday, is the championship game. So the NFL training camps begin end of July, I believe, to start reporting to camp, July and August. And so it does not have an impact at all with the NFL. So this could be very interesting. Now the XFL is taking another year off. They have new owners, new management, and they're going to get everything in line in 2022 to begin a 2023 football season. Also in the spring. They also have 8 teams playing the weekends in the spring, much like this. So the overlap will be next year. XFL and the USFL will overlap. Hope this helped. 2022 overview. My name is Dan. Today's February 24th, 2022. Thanks for listening.